turn the phone off?
There you go. I know we had Sam. Sammy, you seen him?
Said he was coming. He was right behind me.
Comments to myself.
All right, it is 6 o'clock. We're going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. This October 8th, 2024 Kershaw County Council meeting is called to order. We've got an invocation tonight by Councilman Russell Brazel, and then the Pledge of Allegiance.
I'm going to stand and pray. Dear gracious Heavenly Father, thank you for bringing us all here tonight. Thank you for allowing us to conduct business in a way that glorifies your name. Thank you for keeping our families safe and keeping us in your will as we go through life. Dear Lord, I just ask that you be with us tonight in all the decisions that we make and keep everyone's family safe. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, Councilman Brazel, and welcome out tonight, everyone. Appreciate you being here. The next item that we have on our agenda, gentlemen, is adoption of the agenda. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Shoemake, do we have a motion to amend?
I do, Mr. Chair. I would move that we amend the agenda to remove item 6B, public hearings. This item was already had a public hearing at the zoning commission, so I believe it's unnecessary here.
Okay, do we have a second on that?
Second.
All right, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, raise your right hand. Miss Hannah, excuse me, creature of habit, all in favor who are present, and if you would, so I don't have to say it for every vote, let's just note throughout the record that Mr. Tomlinson is absent on business. Thank you. All right, now, as amended, let's vote on.
Mr. Chair, if I
Go
may,
ahead.
I'd like to make an amendment on the executive session that I'd like to remove A, because I think that's something that could really be discussed in open session, county council. And when you and I had a discussion, I think you kind of made me clear on that as well, and I started thinking about it, it made perfect sense.
You would like to remove A from the agenda?
Yes, when I said A, I'm talking about number 17, excuse me, executive session, the ADA.
You'd like to remove it entirely from the
Yes,
agenda?
but that in executive session, because I think it's something we can talk about in open session of county council. Doesn't need to be done in executive session.
Well, that's not the form of a motion that I can entertain. Is there a section that you'd like to move it to?
Well, if you want to move it, we can move it up to the very beginning or just wherever you see so fit. I mean, it's no particular place. I've got something on the agenda under discussion. You can put it there if you want.
It's your motion, sir.
Okay, well then, let's put it under number 8, discussion, along with planning staff report.
Okay, as I understand the motion, it's to move item number 17A after the planning item listed under discussion. Is that correct?
Correct.
Is there a second? I do not see a second. So, the next item.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, members of council.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Jones. Any other motions regarding the agenda? All right. Seeing none, we vote on the agenda as amended. All in favor, raise your right hand. Ms. Hannah, you have Mr. Cato, Mr. Connell, Mr. Brazel, Mr. Tucker, and Mr. Shoemake in favor. All those opposed? You have Mr. Jones opposed. The agenda is adopted. Now the agenda's been adopted, I'm going to have chairman's prerogative and move item 11B under new business to the end of executive session items, and we will proceed forward in that way. Next item is number 5, public comments. Mr. DeVos.
There's one speaker for public comment, Tom Webb, litter ordinance.
Okay, Mr. Webb, please.
keep coming back on this subject, and I'll be back again. I think you have a crazy litter ordinance. It's based on some other county's litter ordinance. It was probably based on somebody else's litter ordinance. It was probably based on somebody else's litter ordinance, maybe all the way back to Germany or the old Soviet Union. It's a crazy litter ordinance. It's not for South Carolina. There are things that people would have around their house out in the boondocks, glassware, crockery, cans, cardboard boxes. These things are forbidden in your litter ordinance. Isn't that crazy? I think so. And you could be fined $250 for having any of that on your own private property. So the roads belong to everybody, even the rednecks who are a little bit careless with their trash, and probably they should be fined something for throwing a small amount of trash out, but not $250. The Eighth Amendment, the Bill of Rights, says we should be careful about not overdoing these fines. The Founding Fathers encountered that sort of thing with the British. They could fine the daylights out of you for nothing. So excessive fines are forbidden in the Eighth Amendment. But our litter ordinance, I think, goes way overboard with $250 fine for something like having a cardboard box on your own private property. You hear me? You could have this on your own private property and be fined $250 for it, according to your litter ordinance. So I'm turning in my cardboard box this afternoon to avoid the $250 fine. Of course, I don't expect anybody to enforce a litter ordinance like that. What happens is people will pass something and then they don't do anything with it for a long time. Somebody else is on county council, maybe again and again, until somebody decides to enforce it. And then they can come after us in our private property and treat us badly, harshly. So I'm turning it in to avoid my $250 fine. I guess that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Webb. No one else signed up, Mr. DeBose?
No.
All right, public comments are concluded. Next item, gentlemen, on the agenda is a set of public hearings. We've already had B removed from the agenda earlier. We've got item number 6A. This is case 2224, It's an ordinance to amend the ZLDR section 3.26 regarding large-scale commercial standalone solar energy farms to require applicants to hold a community meeting. Mr. DeBose, do we have anyone signed up?
Mr. Tom Webb.
Mr. Tom Webb. Please go ahead, Mr. Webb. The public hearing is open.
Well, I would say these solar farms are part of the Green New Deal. They don't have any means of storing the electricity. They just sell it to the big companies. So if they were to make this thing work, to be able to have these solar farms to provide electricity, they must also have some sort of backup plants for when it's cloudy. But we know that the Biden administration is trying to do away with gas stoves and any fossil fuel. So what does that leave us with? Maybe nuclear power plants? We don't have nearly enough to back up when it's cloudy. So these solar farms will provide us with electricity when it's sunny, but when it's cloudy, what are you going to do then? I don't know. It doesn't seem like anybody is addressing it. You could have maybe gas-fired turbines that could come online and take up the slack. But like I say, these gas stoves are going to be outlawed. They're doing that in California. And all the fossil fuel generating plants are supposed to convert to solar. It's very undependable. And that's just what somebody wants for us, to have energy that is undependable. I'm not sure why, but there seem to be the lunatics rise to the top. So it's crazy, and I'm against it. And I know some of y'all are, but you're not speaking out very much. So I'll just leave it at that.
Thank you, Mr. Webb. Anyone else signed up at all, Mr. DeBose?
Not for that item.
Okay, that'll close the public hearing on case 24-22. Skipping item B as discussed previously. Gentlemen, that takes us to item number 6C. This is an ordinance by Kershaw County Council to convey a parcel of land consisting of approximately 1 acre as identified in the published agenda to the community medical clinic. Do we have any signed up?
Yes, the Honorable Thomas Cooper.
Judge Cooper, please. Public hearing's open.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. With me today is the chairman of the board of the Kershaw County Medical Clinic, Mr. Harvey Galloway, and our executive director, Charlotte Rankin. My only purpose in rising is to thank the council for working with us to get this transaction complete. You know, it's sort of like the day that you pay off your mortgage. The clinic has been operating for 20 years under the, while the county has been owning the property. And I think we have faithfully complied with the terms of the agreement back in 2004. And we're coming close to the time when the transfer of the property is going to be back to the medical clinic. We plan to, and I speak, I think, for the entire board, we plan to continue that medical clinic there at least as long as I'm on the board and the members of the board are there. We have no intention of doing anything except providing that service for Kershaw County. And if it comes to the point where we have outgrown the facility, we may have to do something else in terms of location, and we do want the flexibility of ownership of the property so we can deal with it at that time. But as I said, main purpose of my speaking to you, and I want to commend Councilman Shoemake for his cooperation and efforts on this behalf to make sure this is a smooth transaction. And come third reading, we anticipate no problem, and we'll tear up the mortgage. Thank you very much. Mr. Jones, good to see you out.
It's good to see you. Mr. Chair, may I?
Go ahead.
First off, let me say thank you. I'm a big supporter of this organization, and you certainly have my vote through all 3 readings. And let me say this, too, that Councilman Tommy Cooper, Judge Tommy Cooper, I served under him when he was on county council. You were a fair man. You did a great job. And as a judge, I was in your courtroom,
Well, thank you.
not as a criminal, but as
No,
a
I
jail
never-
administrator.
I never saw you up there.
And no, sir, I wasn't. But I want to tell you something. I really enjoyed the time I spent with you when you were with the county. And I want to thank you for all your public service. And I mean that from my heart.
Well, you're most gracious, Mr.
You're a great
Jones.
man.
Thank you.
Thank you. Judge Cooper, you're perpetually a man of your word. We thank you and your staff and the executive director, and we have no doubt you'll carry out the things you've just discussed.
Thank you very much.
Mr. DeBose, anyone else signed up at all?
No, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. That'll close the public hearing on 2424, on the conveyance of land. Next item on the agenda, gentlemen, is number 7, approval of minutes. Do we have a motion?
Make a motion, we approve the minutes as submitted by our clerk to council.
Thank you. Mr. Tucker, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Shoemake seconds. Any discussion?
Thank you, Ms. Hannah.
Seeing no discussion, all in favor, raise your right hand.
Can I do my left? I'm writing.
Ms. Hannah, all of those who are present are in favor. That takes us to item number 8 on the agenda, discussion. We've got a planning staff report placed on the agenda by Councilman Jones. Is there any preliminary update from staff you want, Mr. Jones, or would you like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion
Okay.
to bring this up for discussion.
All right, is there a second?
What is it?
Second.
We've got a second. Discussion.
I just want to read what I had said at the last county council meeting, that under discussion for disclosure, I was wanting to know how much money we have spent in the name of contract agencies, engineering, et cetera, pertaining to planning and zoning, how many employees in the last 2 years have been brought in through contractual or regular status, whichever. And I'm talking about an engineering, stormwater treatment, even working at the front counter. So basically what I'm asking the administrator is, how many contract agencies do you have in planning and zoning? Who are they?
It's Safe Built. We've had them for quite a long time, and they've always been our, kind of our parachute in case we ran low or ran into something with a large volume or an immediate need for
What do they
building
do?
building inspections.
They do building inspections?
Yes.
And how many do we have here?
Currently, we just have one.
And let me ask you this, how much money have we spent with the contract agencies over the last year, maybe 2 years?
From planning and zoning,
Yeah, from using contract employees in planning and zoning over the last 2 years.
(2022) through 24, or I'm sorry, 2024, there was $272,196.76. So on the average per month, that's $12,000, about $13,000 a month. So
Would it not be cheaper to hire an engineer?
well, this is why we were spending so much money, because we didn't have a certified building inspector. And then once we were able to hire that individual, so again, this contract is a stopgap, so when we run into these issues, our old building inspector retired earlier than we thought, and to be able to find individuals that want to come to a county setting or a municipal setting and work is very difficult. These contractors offer a much more conducive work environment, so it makes it difficult for us to hire.
It was said, yeah, they've been out there working for sure. I know a lot of stop work orders have been issued, and I know that when you got a contract employee, they make money when they can bring in more revenue through whether it's issuing permits, or having people go back in and have to refile to bring something else.
So on that, I think there's just a clarification. They are not paid by the stop work order, so that's an internal county function that is outlined in our provisos.
And you're correct on that.
And our list of fees.
Yeah.
And so they are a contract employee, and they just work for a fixed sum of money, depending on the hours.
Exactly, but you have to show your worth to be able to come back, and it's all different sections of the county as far as the money's concerned, but it's all the county's money. There was a meeting held, and it was brought to my attention that someone in the meeting mentioned that under the Templar administration, we're going to enforce planning and zoning by the book, word for word, letter for letter. Is that true?
Yes, I was a cop for a long time. I fully intend to enforce what we have, what council has put on the books, what we have collectively put on the books. And these things protect the homeowner. Let me just share with you, there's an instance in this county, I won't say where it's at, but there are 4 homes built by a builder that circumvented some of the DOT curb cut requirements. They submitted a different set of plans to DHEC, and then submitted a very different set of plans to DOT. They were allowed their curb cuts, they were allowed to go forward, and those 4 homes flood. Luckily, they flooded within that year period of the warranty, but that's what I don't want under the Templar administration.
Okay, under the Templar administration, let me ask you this, and it's the law on the book. You just said you're going to enforce every letter of the law, planning and zoning from this point on. why did you not enforce when someone was on 5 acres or 15 acres of land and they had nothing but woods around them, and the inspectors went and said, you've got to redo and turn that house around and make it face the main road, which was a ridiculous law. Well, you didn't make them enforce that, and I'm glad you didn't. I think you used good judgment on that. But I guess when you say you're going to, by the letter of the law, everything that's written in there, I don't think that's realistic. I mean, there are gray areas out there. Am I correct or not? Did you work that out for those folks?
And didn't you call me about that?
Yes, I did, absolutely. And I'll tell you right now, I'll call you about any citizen that calls me.
Okay.
And I'm not, no, let me finish. And I'm not concerned about what anybody thinks. I'm just asking the question, getting back to what I asked. You said they were going to force it by the letter of the law on temple administration, and yet thankfully you didn't whenever those situations arose. And you did a good job doing that, Danny. But bottom line is you can't say one thing and then do another thing.
Ms. Jones?
No, if I may. There are absolutely, positively opportunities for us to enforce our laws, our ordinances, and still have a favorable outcome for the person wanting to build. But there are also instances where we will enforce the letter of the law because it protects the very homeowner. With some of these stormwater issues that we have, where developers have been allowed to pull out of their development without finishing everything that they were supposed to and turning over subdivisions with stormwater issues that now the Templar administration has to figure out how to fix. That's not fair to the taxpayers. That's not fair to the homeowners.
That's not what I'm talking about.
But I will enforce what I believe needs to be enforced to the letter of the law when it comes to protecting the greater good of the county.
Okay, well, that wasn't what I was talking about. And I understand we have a big issue with stormwater, but my concern was when it said that under the Templar administration, and by the way, council sets policy, and you work for the council, and you'll follow the council's policy. I know that.
And I think it's important to have context in that meeting that it was, that those words were uttered. And that was a developer that has been non-compliant with stormwater, that has not been, that has fees that are owed, and it has been somewhat problematic. And so, yes, we will enforce that. They will pay what is owed, and they will conform to all of our stormwater, the state stormwater.
Even if fees aren't listed in the land use ordinance?
We have fees listed in the proviso. They've always been in there. That's what we just went through this past budget. We increased our fees.
And let me tell you this is what I'm getting at. I was told one time, and I appreciate you stopping another council member trying to come to your defense when we're just having a valid discussion about issues at hand. I was told one time, sitting up here, that, Jones, you better never say never, never, ever, because that's a long time. I think to sit there and say in front of some citizens that we're going to enforce planning zone to the letter of the law. Well, I can tell you right now, we got some clients of some of our folks up here who are in violation of the letter of the law over in West Wateree.
Well, Mr. Jones, if you want to paint me into a corner and
I'm not painting you into a corner, I'm just asking you a question.
Then that's.
I'm just asking you a question.
Well, and I gave you my answers.
You did.
And if you want to paint me into a corner with semantics, then.
It's not semantics.
It is.
It is not. How do you figure semantics when you say you're going to force to the letter of the law, but then yet you go out there and do these other things, which I like, and I actually came to you, and I commend you for that. But we're losing, you're losing me where we're going with this. I just want to know, how can you say you're going to enforce by the letter of the law when there are violations over there right now in Lugoff, and also when we have absolutely made adjustments for folks, and rightfully so. And there's been a member of council up here who told me that they told you we need to force it by the letter of the law. So anyway, that's just.
I think this line of questioning is some of the most just fascinating.
Really?
Yes, sir. I don't, you're right, I don't know where we're going with this. I don't understand. So I'm looking forward to to seeing where we do go with this.
All right, gentlemen.
No, no,
Mr. Jones, do you still have the floor?
Yes, I do.
Okay, anything else you'd like to share?
Yes, I just want to ask a couple of questions, if I may.
Go ahead.
Let me ask you this, Mr. Chancellor. How many retention basins do we have in our county? It's a
I think
rough
there's
estimate.
around, I don't know exactly, but I know the county owns a little over a dozen. And then you look at, there's county-owned retention ponds, then there's commercially owned retention ponds such as businesses, and then there's, you've also got the ones in the.
Who maintains the ones that are abandoned?
Yes, there's several of those out there.
Do we have to maintain control? Are we supposed to be maintaining control of those?
That's what we are trying to get to the bottom of through everything we're working on with stormwater, because I think that is John DeBose and our staff has been working on that, because that is a question we need to better understand, because there are a significant amount of retention ponds out there in older subdivisions that the language and the direction from DHEC is not necessarily clear. So in my mind, just understanding how DHEC works sometimes and the state's unfunded mandates, in my mind, I say yes, at some point we will have to maintain those. It's just a matter of when, not if, so.
I think we've been charged, and you correct me if I'm wrong, I think we've been charged that we are responsible for them.
We haven't been officially told, but if you look at the language, I think that would be a reasonable expectation coming in the future.
Does the county have control of the city of Camden retention basins as well?
No, they're on their own MS4.
They have their own stormwater
Yes.
issues. Well, Mr. Chairman, thank you so much for answering my questions. And council, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Mr. Tucker, you had the second. You have any comment?
Yes, sir, I do. So I have a couple questions as well. One is, Mr. Templer, since Mr. Jones knows what I'm going to say and ask, I'll make sure that he's correct in his head. In these contracts, do you have anyone, or have you been able to hire staff of that quality of expertise to help this county stay relevant and within our compliances?
We currently have an opening for the only gentleman that is provided to us via the Safe Built contract, but no, I think that position's been open for 11 months, if not longer. I have to look at my notes, but it's been quite some time, so, and as we hired our certified building inspector, our official, which took Raleigh's place, we were able to reduce that contract cost significantly. So this is not something we want to have long-term. This is certainly a stopgap. The sooner we can get people in, obviously it's going to reduce costs and allow us to have our people on board, but it's just a very tough position to hire for.
So you did the smartest thing to keep things moving in a professional and reasonable order and best for the citizens of Kershaw County by filling the stopgap with contractors. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, we have to, with just the sheer volume of permits that we saw, more so in '22 at kind of the peak. Now, we're coming out of that, but there's still a lot of building going on. A lot of those subdivisions we had talked in previous meetings are, they were approved then, but some of them are just now being built out. Some are just continuing with phases. So, yeah, there's a lot of activity, and we're just trying to be more responsive. And Joey and his staff have done an amazing job with trying to retool planning and zoning, and to be more responsive and to be more efficient and faster to get permits in and have them, processed. We have added people. We've added 3 people over the last 2 years. And it's paid off
Well, I want to say, for
service.
the ones that agree with me up here, we thank you for that progress you have made and what you're making, and we know it's not an overnight wave the magic wand on trying to get your staff up to par and where you need it, and ask that you continue to use your discretion as we figure out how to staff our departments where they can service best for the citizens. Now, with that word I just used, in your law enforcement career and in your administrator career, even when you was assistant administrator, was there anything written or stated or an ordinance from us that says that you can't use
Discretion?
discretion? And that's the word I did use, isn't it? Is there anything that says that you can't use discretion?
No, and it's, there will be times we have to enforce the letter of the law.
And I thank you for that.
And I, there's, even in law enforcement, there's mandatory arrest, CDV, mandatory arrest.
DUI.
But having said that, there's opportunities to, and I've done it, I'll continue to do it. I will, if somebody's got a unique situation, because not every house on every plot of land or whatever is going to be consistent, and I think that's where discretion comes in. And I think that is where we have been turning a corner with planning and zoning. Staff down there has done an amazing job with just trying to work with people to find out how we get it done instead of how you're not going to get it done. So, yeah, there will be times, I think, when it comes to larger subdivisions, based on my experience and some of the agony they have caused with poor design and things. And I'm not casting a broad net. I'm just saying specific ones that has taught me to let's scrutinize these things a little more, hold feet to the fire, enforce the laws that the state has when it comes to stormwater, and do what we're supposed to do. So that's.
Well, we thank you for that. I've got one more thing, Mr. Chairman, and then I'm going to let this go, and we're going to move on because I don't want to spend the night here.
Thank you, Mr. Tucker.
So the question was, how many retention bonds? Is it not a true statement, Mr. Templer, that these retention bonds have been brought up to the Finance Committee on several of our meetings, discussing, trying to find best practice moving forward, and we've got things where we're moving in that direction with, 18 commercial MS4s, 19 residentials, and then 17 of our own, and then 4 inside Elgin that we do stormwater for. So that's a total of 56, Mr. Jones, just for your math, if you like to have it. And they're increasing. And we're not sitting on our hands. Staff is not, the Finance Committee is not, and trying to find a, like I said, best practice way of moving forward on these retention ponds. Is that a fair statement, Mr. Templer?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I may,
Under Robert's Rules of Order, all other council members have the opportunity to speak before someone speaks twice, so you will have your chance.
Thank
But
you.
any other council members speaking on this issue? Did you, no?
No,
Anyone
I
else speaking?
concur with Councilman Tucker.
Okay, we got a concurrence. Mr. Jones, go ahead, you've got the floor.
well, Mr. Tucker, that was very nice what you just said. So basically, you're saying that we won't be enforcing by the letter of the law. You know, we need to give some discretion to the county administrator, which I don't disagree with that. I want them to be able to use discretion. I'm just saying in a meeting that was said, I think that was said in poor taste, and it could be selective individuals that comment's going to be made to, and I just didn't appreciate it. But I didn't really disagree with a whole lot you said. I disagree with most of it. Anyway, thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. I think these issues in the discussion, just speaking last here, are appropriate also for the ZLDR. If there are items that we don't like in particular portions of the code, that's why we're going through it right now. We can make revisions. There are some that I personally don't like or I haven't seen applied or interpreted effectively, or maybe they're just written really in a confusing way about the policy maker so many years ago. Some of these people are dead and gone, but we're still trying to interpret what they've said. And so I'm glad that we're going through the ZLDR process personally so that we can update and make sure things are easy to interpret, easy to apply. And that's all I have to say. Any other comments at all? All right, we're going to move on to the next. No vote required. We're going to move on to the next agenda item. Section 9A. This is 2422, which we just had the public hearing on. Second reading regarding amendment of the ZLDR, Section 3.26 regarding large-scale solar and requiring applicants to hold a community meeting with other related requirements as provided in the published agenda. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's up for discussion. And what was your motion in particular? To pass on second reading?
Pass on second reading.
Okay.
Yes, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
And I still second.
Okay, and I just wanted to clarify. We got a motion and a second. Go ahead, Mr. Cato.
We had a lengthy discussion the last time on these regulations. I think it's something that's really needed with these solar farm issues, that we can get to the community, get information out to the community of the intentions of these companies, allow our community to give us a response, and to ask questions to this company about what their intentions are. And I think it also gives county council a little bit more insight as to how our county citizens feel about these solar panels and what's taking place in their community. So I think this is something that I brought forward. Mr. Jones was also involved in this. And we've sent it over to planning and zoning. They brought this recommendation back, so I asked that it pass second reading.
Thank you very much. The second was Mr. Shoemake. Any comment?
Yes. Concur with Mr. Cato.
Another concurrence. Any other comments by council members? Seeing no other comments or discussion, we'll move it to a vote. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Ms. Hannah, it is unanimous for those who are present. Next item, gentlemen, is 9B. This is case 24-24. It's a rezoning request. 10.43 approximately acre parcel identified by TMS located in Cassett. Do I have a motion?
I'll also make a motion, we pass the second reading of this ordinance.
Thank you, Mr. Cato. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Tucker. Do you want any summary from staff, or do you want to go ahead and take the floor?
I think we already had a brief summary in the first meeting. We also had the landowner speak of his intentions with this property, and I really think it would be beneficial to the Cassett area. So I'm just going to leave it with that and ask for the support of my fellow colleagues.
Thank you, Mr. Cato.
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Tucker, you have the second.
Yes, thank you. Is there, Mr. DeBose, is there any changes from first reading? Because I was via phone the first
No,
reading.
Mr. Tucker.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tucker. Anything else?
That's it.
Any other comments? Any other discussion, gentlemen? All right, we'll move it to a vote. All those in favor, raise your right hand.
I'm sorry, it's my left, but I'm right.
That's fine. I'm left-handed anyway. Just raise a hand. Ms. Hannah, all those who are present are in approval. It passes, second reading. Now we're on to 9B, gentlemen, second reading. Excuse me,
No.
next page.
9C.
I'm trying to keep up with all my notes here. 9C, second reading. It is a ordinance to convey 1 acre of land, which we heard about earlier, to the community medical clinic. It's approximately 1 acre. And do I have a motion?
Yes, I move.
I was second.
Okay, we got a motion by Mr. Jones, a second by Mr. Shoemake. It's up for discussion.
Before we move into discussion, I'd like to make an amendment, if I could, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. What's the amendment?
So my amendment has 3 parts. I'll discuss kind of the rationale, but let me just make the motion and see if I get a second. The first is I would move to amend the ordinance itself to specifically in paragraph 2, It says that the clinic agrees to maintain nonprofit medical clinic, and if the property improvements are sold at some later date. My first part of my motion, three parts. First part would be, after that language at some later date, comma, the rest of that be removed, and instead and in its place would be, the proceeds of the sale shall be restricted to the following purposes without the need to obtain council approval. The purchase of a different facility for the purpose of operating a nonprofit medical clinic in Kershaw County, construction of a new nonprofit medical clinic in Kershaw County, or donation of the funds to an element mercenary or governmental entity to be used to provide healthcare services for the citizens of Kershaw County. Any disbursement of funds not associated with these purposes shall be subject to approval by Kershaw County Council. So that amendment would be the first part. The second part would be in the accompanying deed. I would move that we remove the language in the fourth paragraph of the description of the property that removes the restrictions on conveyance, and that would be removed. And the third piece is that we would then ask Mr. DeBose, our county attorney, to talk to Mr. Cox, who's on the board of the medical clinic, to discuss any appropriate language that may need to be in the deed if necessary.
And just so I understand, on your motion to amend, this was requested by the community medical clinic and their legal counsel?
It was requested by Mr. Cox, who is an attorney and on their board. I spoke this afternoon to Judge Cooper and also to Mr. Galloway and Ms. Rankin, so I've
Okay,
spoken.
let me just pause you right there. Let's get a second before we have any further discussion.
Second.
All right, we got a second by Mr. Jones on the amendment. Any further discussion, Mr. Shoemake?
Yeah, just to sort of explain, there were some concerns by Mr. Cox, who in addition to being on the board is himself a real estate attorney, and there was some concerns about the inability, so basically, the goal, right, is for this medical facility to grow. If it grows, it will need to sell its old building, move into a bigger one. And what we don't want to do is have the unintended consequence of delaying their ability to do that by placing so many restrictions they can't get a good buyer. And so what this language does, it still ensures that the clinic is used while being operated by the clinic, the building rather, is being used for charitable and free clinic purposes. But should they grow, the funds that they get from that will still be used for that purpose. So what it does is allows them to grow if necessary and doesn't encumber them. As I mentioned, this has been requested by every member of the board that I've spoken with, Mr. Cox, Judge Cooper, Mr. Galloway, and Ms. Rankin, and I think it makes sense. And the third part of the motion specifically authorizes Mr. DeBose to work with Mr. Cox just in the event that the county may be exposed by some of these additions. Mr. Cox has been really easy to talk to, so rather than play telephone game, have our attorney speak directly with Mr. Cox to iron out any details we need to before third reading.
Thank you very much. Mr. Jones, you have the second.
I think that's good stuff. Thank you, Mr. Shoemake, and thank you for working with the medical clinic as well. They do such good stuff.
Mr.
And I think he's one of the
Go
best, I think that Cox is one of the best real estate attorneys around. He did my wife's will, left me out of it. I'm joking.
Mr. DeBose, I want to clarify, you vetted this, and it's a situation that helps them for their purposes, but does not harm the county in any way, legally or otherwise.
Correct. I think provided that the funds are restricted to some public purpose, which I understand is the intent of CMC if they ever sell, I don't see a problem.
Okay. Any other discussion, gentlemen?
No, I will make sure that Mr. DeBose, I have this exact language typed up, but I typed it up earlier today to get a chance to print it. I will make sure that Mr. DeBose gets this exact language and Ms. Hannah gets it as well. So
That was going to be my request.
Yeah, so that we don't have to restate that language, but I have the exact language. I will send it to Ms. Hannah and Mr. DeBose to make sure it's properly in the record.
Okay.
Thank you.
Seeing no further discussion, unless there's more discussion after we vote on the amendment, we'll have two votes in succession. First, on the amendment made by Mr. Shoemake, seconded by Mr. Jones. All in favor, raise your hand. Ms. Hannah, all those present are in favor? None opposed? And then we will vote, unless there's further discussion, gentlemen, we'll vote on it as amended.
Yes.
No discussion? All right, let's vote. All in favor, raise your hand. None opposed? All in favor, Ms. Hannah. Thank you very much. It passes. Second reading. All right, gentlemen, next item is number 9D. First reading in title only is allowed by our rules. This is under South Carolina law, allowing for the execution and delivery of a fee in lieu of taxes agreement, normally known as a FELO. It's being described as Project New Life. Seek a motion.
I make a motion to have this first reading in title only.
Okay,
Second.
we've got a motion and a second. Not too much discussion generally on first reading. Do you have anything, Mr. Brazel?
No, I think it's good to see economic development moving forward and having a new project in Kershaw County. I know that this will potentially create jobs and opportunities for people here in our community. So I look forward to seeing how this unfolds and looking forward to having them expand in our community. Thank you.
Yes, sir. More to follow. Mr. Tucker, I think you had the second there.
Yes, I just want to thank Jeff Burgess and his staff, and also the county staff, Mr. Templer and the rest of his crew, for continuing to seek economic development opportunities here in this county, because that is one of the cogs that's in our wheel that keeps these things rolling. So kudos to you guys. Lock up some more. We need them.
Thank you, Mr. Tucker. I know Mr. Burgess will be here, but he's out of town on family vacation. Any other discussion from council members?
How many jobs?
We don't know that yet. It's title only.
Well, the resolution will speak to it in just a moment, but we'll get those details to you just as soon as we can.
I already know, I just wanted to.
That's why I didn't ask.
Any other discussion? All right, seeing none, let's move it to a vote. All those in favor, raise your hand. It's unanimous, Ms. Hannah. Gentlemen, that takes us to item number 10, resolutions. This is an inducement resolution providing for negotiation of a fee lieu and tax agreement between Project New Life, and as you'll see from the published agenda, it provides for $16 million in investment and 32 jobs. Do I have a motion?
Yeah, I so make the motion to adopt this resolution.
Okay.
Second.
We've got a motion and second. Mr. Brazel, you've got the floor. Go ahead, please.
Again, more of the same, 32 jobs, $16 million investment. I can tell you, a $16 million investment is nothing to sneeze at. We've definitely see some of these large mega companies, such as BMW or Volvo in Charleston, that really make a huge impact. But I think for a community like Kershaw County, anytime we see an investment like this, we're certainly excited about it, and we're glad for the owner of the business and the management and staff to be excited with us about bringing those jobs here and expanding here in Kershaw County.
Thank you, Mr. Brazel. Mr. Tucker, you have the second.
Ditto. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Tucker. Any other discussion? Seeing no other discussion, I'll just comment generally that this is really exciting. I mean, this is big for us. $16 million in investment, 32 jobs. We've got a couple more readings, and all details will be disclosed. We like to maintain the privacy of the companies to the extent possible as they expand and look at making moves in the market. But it's really great for Kershaw County. These are stand-up folks, and it's an expansion of a local company, which is just a blessing. And with that, seeing no other discussion, let's move it to a vote, gentlemen. All in favor? Raise your hand. Ms. Hannah, it's unanimous for those who are present. That takes us to item number 11A, airport roof bid, placed on the agenda by the administrator. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to put it on the floor.
You have a second?
Second.
Mr. Templer?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of council. You have before you a bid through a cooperative purchasing agreement that is allowed us to go out and secure a bid for Hangar 1 and 2A roof project. This has been something we've been trying to do for years, probably about the last 5 years, is to get some movement on repairing our facility out there. And these are the old World War II era hangars. Got a little bit of roof issues we've been battling for a while, so this bid here will allow us to start tackling some of those issues. What you have here is staff recommends the award to Johnson Lowe Construction for $339,380.54.
Thank you for that report, Mr. Templer. Any discussion, council members?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Go ahead, Mr. Tucker.
Mr. Temple, was this the only bid we received back on this?
Yes, because, and this is the cooperative bidding, and this is,
Okay.
if you remember, this is how we did a fair amount of the work over at the jail.
Right.
And this process has really streamlined these important, especially a leaking roof. It speeds the process up. It is allowed under South Carolina Code of Laws, and the state uses it as well. So it's a,
I just wanted to make that clear.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Tucker. Any other discussion, gentlemen?
Quickly. So
Mr. Jones, you recognize.
using that provision, we wouldn't use that provision to deliberately not get bids, correct?
Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not. But he's wanting a particular job done quick, and he uses this procedure through the state because evidently this company has done this type of work before in the state. And they can, and usually it comes in lower. As you can see, what we had scheduled for bid and what it actually bid for is lower than what we had already set aside. So a lot of good things come out of using this system.
I will vote for this tonight, but I really like it when we can. And you may not have been able to get any more bids, I don't know. But I mean, when we can, I just like to see 2 or 3, whatever.
That's that discretion.
Well, if I might, you done,
You
Mr.
don't even know what
Jones?
you're talking about, Sammy. Go ahead.
You done? Okay. Mr. Templer, you gave me an expression of this joint process that I thought was useful. Could you just go into a little bit more detail for the benefit of the council and public
Sure.
on
So-
why the state does it this way and how the funds are appropriated and the experience level of the particular contractors?
Yep, so this is in Dorchester County is the county that kind of anchor and competitively seek, they're essentially doing our procurement for us. And this company will meet with our staff, our procurement officer, so we're still in compliance with everything we have to do as far as going out and being competitive with pricing and things of that nature. They scope the work, they come back, and Gorgon will speak with different vendors, and so they essentially do the competitive bidding for us. They come back, we still check references, we still do everything, Kershaw County still does everything that we need to do on our side that we would normally do under procurement. So, but it does allow us to circumvent some of the slower portions of the process because it's vetted, it's recognized by the state, and we are in partnership with Dorchester County to just, I mean, it's cheaper and quicker. And this is not something we do all the time. If you remember, there are, with the jail roof, and I think there was another jail project with jail plumbing. So these are typically going to be very specific types of projects. So we wouldn't typically do this for something else that we would normally build out, like maybe say we're going to build a fire station. It's probably, unless we really looked into it and we found a lot of value in it, we would still go with our traditional.
Where is the
form.
state in relation to jails or criminal housing facilities or airports does have particular interest and particular network of individuals that they pre-approve?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for that summary. Any other discussion, gentlemen? All righty, we've got a motion and a second. We've had discussion. Let's move it to a vote. All in favor, raise your hand. Seeing none opposed, it's unanimous. Ms. Hannah? 11B has been moved to the end of executive session, so we move to item number 12A, Planning Commission appointment. We've got one vacancy. District number 4 placed on the agenda by Councilman Jimmy Jones. Do we have a motion?
Yes, I so move that we open this up.
I'm sorry, say again, sir?
I make a motion that we open this up to fill the one vacancy.
Okay, do you have a motion
Yes, I
to
do.
appoint someone?
But, yeah, I do. I bet you I'll get a unanimous vote on this one. You know, I have a young gentleman sitting out here. I have much respect for him and his family, his dad, and Jonathan Proctor. And he has shown interest in it over the last few years. And thank you, Mr. Connell, too, for kind of bringing it to my attention, because I actually forgot. When you have as much going on as I got going on, I've got more going on than 3 of these groups together. I'm just so glad that it was renewed in my mind where you're here tonight. And I'm going to make the motion that we appoint him to fill that vacancy.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Do we have a second?
I'll make it-
Oh, we got multiple seconds.
Fighting over
I
the
yield.
seconds.
Mr. Brazel has a second on that one.
Make a second.
Thank you, gentlemen. Any discussion? Mr. Jones?
He's a great man. Do you have anything you want to say to us?
Just saying, I look forward to serving this county. I know I already served the people of the county through my job at the funeral home, but I look forward to actually serving in this manner and giving back to the county.
And remember, I do not want to be cremated. Thank you.
Burn him, Jonathan, burn him.
Thank you very much. Any further discussion, gentlemen?
Good to have you here tonight.
Yes.
Yeah, I would just like to say, Mr. Proctor, welcome aboard. I think, I've made no secret that I think our planning and zoning issues are the greatest issues facing our county. And you're jumping in right as we're hopefully finishing the comprehensive plan soon and then moving to ZLDR. And I think the zoning is one of the most important areas of our county right now, and thus it's one of the most important commissions. So happy to have you aboard. I think they're electing their new chairman in their next meeting coming up, I think, next week. So you joined at just the right time. So thank you.
And if I may, Mr. Chairman, I
Go
want
ahead.
to say thanks to you and to your family. Know them all. Mom's my classmate, so we go back like Cadillac seats. But you tell them I always said hello, and just thank you. We need young, bright minds, because me and this other fellow over here to my far left, we on the way out. So keep serving.
Not me,
Thank
brother.
you. I'm gonna knock you out.
We'll be here 100 more years.
How many more?
100.
All right, seeing no further discussion, we'll move it to a vote, gentlemen. All in favor, raise your hand. Ms. Hannah, it's unanimous for those who are present. You are appointed. Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Congratulations, Jonathan.
Congratulations, Jonathan.
Yes.
That moves us to item 12B, ATAX Committee appointment. There's one vacancy for filling an unfinished term or unexpired term, District 3. Councilman
Yeah,
Shoemaker.
so I do not have a motion. I would ask that we push this to 2 meetings. I have a person that I had reached out to, but could not get a hold of them, and I want to make sure that this is such a critical committee. As you know, I've been up here and mentioned many times that I'd like to see the West Wateree area and Elgin be a little more competitive for these ATAX funding, which requires application. So I really want to find someone for this committee in either my district or bluntly Councilman Jones' district, but somebody in the West Wateree area, because that committee is so Camden heavy. So if I could get one more month to find that person, I would appreciate it.
Well said.
Oh, so you'd like to defer it for 2 meetings? Any motion required at all?
I think the motion's been stated for 2 meetings, yeah. So
Okay.
second, and then vote.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Yeah.
All right, we got a second by Mr. Tucker. All in favor of pushing this out to the first meeting in November, raise your hand. It's unanimous, Ms. Hannah, for those who are present. That takes us to item C, which doesn't require a vote. It's just an acknowledgement that we have applications for pending future appointments. Ms. Hannah, you have those in the file, correct? They'll show up in the agenda as required. Thank you very much, Ms. Hannah. Item 12D, Santee Lynch's COG appointment. Do we have a motion on that one, Mr. Brazel?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to appoint you to the Santee Lynch's COG Chairman, Ben Connell.
Thank you, I think. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, we've got a second by Mr. Cato. Mr. Brazel, any discussion?
I think you do a fantastic job. You did a great job at the State House, and I know you'll meet lots of nice new friends on the COG and help Kershaw County find the funding that we need for our roads and bridges and all these different sorts of necessary items that we have. Thank you.
I don't know what their wrestling skill level is on the COG, but I'll certainly increase it some. Mr. Tucker, I think, no, Mr. Cato, you had the
Cato
second.
did.
No comments.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Go ahead, Mr. Tucker.
I would like to thank you and welcome you aboard. A great addition, I feel. Kershaw County is well represented on this board, and they show up and meet and they vote and they do the committee work. So I know we're getting another hard worker, dedicated young man, and we look forward to getting you into the grind of things, and because the COG does a lot of things across 4 counties, and we're pretty stingy and greedy for Kershaw, so we fight very hard.
Thank you, Mr. Tucker. Not so young anymore. Any further discussion, gentlemen?
I think to echo what Councilman Tucker said and what we were talking about earlier, particularly with West Wateree, we're sort of new to the COG. That's obviously an area you represented amongst others. I think that it's, critical to get the infrastructure back here. So, and obviously to have the chairman of our council makes eminent sense, particularly with the chairman of the COG also on our council. So, look forward to having you up there wrestling for money to repave, at least according to District 3 folks, we need to repave all of Elgin. So you guys can get on that, please.
I heard that for 6 years, too. Thank you, Mr. Shoemaker. Any further discussion, gentlemen? Seeing none, let's move it to a vote. All in favor? It's unanimous, Ms. Hannah. Thank you. That moves us to item 12E, appointment to the Opioid Coalition. Do we have a motion, Mr. Tucker?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair, if I may, I would like at this time to make a motion to appoint Mr. Danny Cato to the opioid coalition to serve and represent this body.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Shoemake. Mr. Tucker, you have the first.
I know from Danny's background in law enforcement and a lot of the things that he's seen over his career, that this would be a shoe-in, fit-in for him. He's actually worked on the investigation end. He's done narcotics. He's done a little bit of everything. I think he'll have some expertise to share with this committee. And not only that, bring back good information and take good recommendations. So, Mr. Cato, I'm looking forward to you just jumping in with both feet and making it work. And any way that we or I can support you, just let us know.
Mr. Chair, excuse me, Mr. Chair, I have a question.
Typically, I'd let the second have a chance. You will definitely.
I would yield.
You'll yield? All right, go
Well, I
ahead.
just
Mr.
wanted
Jones.
clarification is what I wanted, Mr. Shoemake. From our attorney, can I vote on this?
Yeah, I don't know that the
You know
individual
what I'm
that's
saying, Mr. Schmidt?
appointed would necessarily cause you to have to recuse yourself. I know you're sensitive to some of the funding issues.
Well, I'm going to recuse
Fine.
myself just
All right.
for the record.
I think discretion is the better part of valor.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
Not that word again.
So I just want to say,
Write it on a plaque and hang it up.
the only thing in my experience working with Danny this last year, the only thing Danny does not do well is give anything less than 100% to anything he does. So I have no doubt, if Danny knew nothing about this, which he knows a great deal given his law enforcement background, but I have no doubt that if Danny knew nothing about this, he'd still be an excellent choice because he doesn't do anything but give his absolute best. So thank you for representing the county, Councilman Cato, as you do so well. Thank you.
I do want to say thank you, Danny, for serving. I do want to say that.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. I'll have a brief comment here. I think Mr. Cato will represent this body very well. It's a very important position. There are hundreds of thousands of dollars that come to the county, and this body votes on and allocates those funds. And so there's no shortage of need for this in the county. And this is some supply that we'll get from the opioid settlement that will come for years. And so we appreciate your willingness to serve on this. Any other comments? Any other discussion? Seeing none, we'll move it to a vote. All those in favor, raise your hand.
You can vote for yourself, Danny.
You can. You can. So we've got 5 in favor with 1 abstaining. Mr. Jones abstaining.
Right.
Thank you, gentlemen. That moves us to old business, item number 13. We've got 13A, boat ramp update placed on the agenda by Vice Chairman Russell Brazel. Do you require a staff update first, or would you like to make a motion?
Well, I don't think we need a staff update as much as we need an update from Alliance Engineering.
All right, let's make a motion then.
I'd like to make a motion to have an update on the bid process for the boat ramp that's being built at Veterans Park.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
You make? Mr. Brazel.
Yes, thank you. We've been talking about this boat ramp for, it feels like a couple of years now, and finally it's coming to fruition. I'd like to thank the administration and all the staff that's had a hand in this for getting us to this point. I'd like to invite Kyle from Alliance Engineering to come up and kind of tell us where we're at with the bid process. I know he's navigating many issues with working with the Corps of Engineers, working with South Carolina DHEC. I know that they've changed names, but it's out of habit. And other agencies, as well as our own engineering staff, to get this project ready to bid. But give us the good news.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Councilman Brazel. My name is Kyle Clampett with Alliance Consulting Engineers. We're pleased to be the engineer of record for the Wateree River Veterans Park boat ramp. We're pleased to say that we are upon the bidding process. We have the plans completed. We are nearly through the permitting process. We essentially have approval from Kershaw County, and just today, we received approval from DES, which is a new organization named DHEC, is what I like to call it, because it confuses people if I say DES. They don't know what that is.
Who is that?
Well, sorry.
I said, who is that?
That's right. So DHEC is working well with us to allow a phased permitting process while we await the final linchpin in the wetland permitting process from the Army Corps of Engineers. Councilman Brazel has been excellent support for us in that process to expedite. I will commend both him and Mr. Templer. If, without their involvement, I don't think we would be where we are today. I'm not going to say we wouldn't think, we would not be where we are today with the Army Corps process without their involvement. So our plan is we'll have permit approval within the next couple of weeks from DES and the county in hand, ready to start. Coinciding with that, we'll be going through the bidding process in the months of October and November. We're still working with staff to determine when council meetings will fall in the months of November and December. But we anticipate that that will go out for bid. I believe the new dates were October 14th advertising. And looks like we'll be opening in mid-November. Right now, we're looking at November 14th to open. If we have a second meeting in November, we could have that bid in front of everyone at that time for consideration. And then to go into, if not, we would go to that first meeting in December. I would also like to mention on the bid process itself, a question was asked of where this will be advertised. This will be on SCIBO, which is South Carolina Business Opportunities. It's also on the county's website. It will be on I Square Foot, which is a plan room that contractors can sign up for and have subscriptions that gets out. Construction Connect is another format that we utilize to get the word out. And then we use the old-fashioned telephone, making phone calls to contractors that are licensed to do this type of work. We're excited for this project to go forward. It's creating 30 boat and trailer parking spaces, 29 parking spaces themselves, 2 ADA locations, creating a new dock, new ramp, and revamping of one of the existing ramps for the kayak launch. So I'll pause there. If there's anything else that we wanted to make sure and go over, we're happy to do that this evening.
Yes,
And
sir.
I have hard copies of plans too.
Could we have those?
Yes, please, thank you.
So I have full-size sets and site plans, and we also have 11 by 17s. A little harder to see the small print on those, but you can at least get the gist of what's on the site plan itself.
We won't be able to wield the large ones. Please pass the
Yeah,
small
Danny,
ones up.
Danny, would you mind just handing those over,
We'll check those out in the
over so we can
conference
check
room
them
later.
out?
And there's 11 copies there.
Well, it's been, everything's up to par now, up to snuff. Just to clarify, it should go to bid on October 14th, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
It'll go to bid as a single-phase bid. Is that the
That's
intent?
correct. Yes, it'll be the one contractor for all scope of the project.
Thank you,
itself. Yes, sir.
Okay.
So that'll include the
And-
dock, that'll include the ramp, that'll include the parking improvements, all within one.
Okay, all right, perfect. So we got our square footage correct on the pier, in the pier head, is that
We
right?
found new information even today. We are back to the 880 square feet. That will not impact the LOP process, which is letter of permission.
Oh, wonderful.
So, yes, so great news that came today. The letter of permission is the processes associated with the dock itself, so we can now go back to our 880 square feet. We're not limited to 600 any longer because of the LOP process that the Army Corps is going through.
Okay, so there's no big, long wait period then associated with that?
There is not, that's correct.
Wonderful, that is good news.
Yep.
All right, and so we should have a bid by November the 14th, and then the following meeting we'll vote on it, is that right?
Yes, sir, that's correct. So if
Perfect.
we have one on the 26th, which I don't believe there's going to be, but if that's first meeting in December, then we could be on that.
And we may do a called meeting if my colleagues are willing, so.
We're open to whatever. So we're going to list the bid that they are ready to have a notice to proceed November 25th. That way, the contractor has to be ready by that date. So that way, whatever you decide on the council meeting, that contractor's already been informed that they were supposed to be ready by November 25th.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. You've been a great help. Extraordinary, what we were able to do and hash this out and work together to get us to this process. I do thank you very much. I appreciate you and your engineering firm and all your staff at the engineering firm. Y'all have done a great job for Kershaw County. I think that's it. I think that sums up everything that we've discussed. And
May I say
anybody
s-
have any questions?
Yeah, can I say something to him about his?
Hold on, I've got to defer to the second first and see if you yield.
Does that make, yeah, I yield.
Go ahead, Mr. Jones.
Again, I apologize.
No, that's fine. I forgot I was the
I just
second.
want to say something about his firm.
Need to see my pic?
Go ahead, Mr. Jones.
Yeah, okay, thank you. y'all been around for a long time. We've worked with you for many, many years. I can honestly say that I have thoroughly enjoyed it. I mean, you guys do a great job, and I appreciate that.
Thank you. I
You're welcome.
appreciate it very much. We appreciate.
We
the
do, we go
opportunity.
way back.
You do. You and Mr. DePaul go way back for sure. And myself as well. I've been with the firm 16 of our 20 years now, and we have always enjoyed serving Kershaw County. It's a pleasure to work with all the staff that we encounter, council. It's one of our favorite ones to work with, for sure.
And thank you for being here tonight. And Mr. Brazel, thank you too for getting us a clear, decisive update.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited about this, and I'm just thankful for the opportunity.
Oh, in construction duration, we put it 120 days as well.
Perfect.
Good to
Thank
know.
you.
Yep.
So it's
Great,
a
so-
little bit aggressive, but we think we can push the
I like
contractors to get it
aggressive.
done. So if we give them 180, they'll take 180, so we're going to go 120.
We'll be putting boats in by summer.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank y'all.
Mr. Tucker, you have any discussion?
Yes, I just want to say to Kyle and staff, I know during all this, a lot of conversation was going back and forth, but I want to thank you and your organization, corporation as well, for putting up with us, inquiring and trying to see where we're at and not quitting on us. You're still bringing good news tonight on things that you've looked into and made possible. And that means a lot, because sometimes when people get butthurt, they tend to not do their best work. But we'll appreciate you.
Yeah, you put your trust in us to do a good job, and we expect that. We need to be available and ready for questions. I mean, this is taxpayer money being put to good use, and our job and our duty is to serve well and to come through for you, no matter the obstacles that are in front of us. But we've enjoyed the process. We always do with all the projects we do with the county. So,
You tell all those bidders you're going to send us out to sharpen the pencil.
yes, sir. We are starting to see, I'm never going to say that the bids are going down, but we are seeing participation increase
Yes.
with bids. I don't think anyone's going to start charging less for anything, but we are seeing the escalation slow.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Shoemaker.
I just want to say again, thank you guys. I look forward to you guys doing this, and also I know we'll be speaking probably, I'm probably put on for the November agenda for our KC West project, which is near dear to my heart, which I know you guys are working on. I'd also like to I think it's a really good opportunity to take a step back. We see sometimes on social media and stuff about, the pace at which the county operates. And obviously, we'd all love government to move really fast. But sometimes that's not. And since I came on this body, Councilman Brazel has been pushing for this boat ramp. And it started, when I first got here, it was still a bit amorphous. And just watching over the last 14, 15 months, Councilman Brazel and this body and this administration and alliance work on this ramp, one, it shows that sometimes fast in governmental terms might be 15, 18 months. But it also shows the power of commitment. And I give my hats off to you, Councilman Brazel, because this is a perfect example of how we can come together as a body, make real concrete things happen for our community that matter to the people there. So congratulations, Councilman Brazel.
It's vice chair, sir.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Jones, go ahead.
a comment on something Derek said, Mr. Shoemaker said. I don't want to leave this out either. I had the distinct pleasure, maybe it's a pleasure, to work with this man in the middle who's chair now for 6 years, and he ran for the House, won it. And if I'm not mistaken, you got us some money for this ramp too.
Yes.
The delegation worked very hard to get
That's the
some.
first time I heard you. No, seriously, and that's much appreciated, because we wouldn't be where we are now if we hadn't got
Right.
that money. So on that, Mr. Chairman, I commend you on that.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll conclude with, this is a great example of miracles happening. Somehow I went to the State House, we were able to acquire a bunch of funds, somehow I'm back here again, and these gentlemen have allotted additional funds to work on this type of project. We've been talking about it for over 2.5 years, and it's resulting in what I think will be a wonderful project, very, very important for our quality of life in Kershaw County to have access to the Wateree River. And this will only heighten and improve that and enhance one of the most dynamic public parks that we have in the county. It's the most heavily utilized, and I think this will only increase that. You're going to see, I just think you'll see a boom of increased use out there, which I'm excited about, and it's right in the heart of the county. Okay, with no further discussion, let's move it to a vote. All in favor, raise your hand. Ms. Hannah, we are unanimous for those who are present. All right, gentlemen, that takes us to item 13B, Kershaw County Code of Ordinances Muni Code Update, placed on the agenda by the administrator. Do I have a motion?
I would move that we open the Kershaw County Code of Ordinance Municode update for discussion.
And is this going to require any vote? Mr. Templer's just, okay.
No, sir, just.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We got a second from Mr. Tucker. Go ahead, please.
Thank you. Just kind of giving you an update, and I think, Mr. Chairman, based on our discussion, there was some concern about the timeliness of our ordinances being updated to our site and the disparity between what we have, staff has on paper versus what we are displaying. So I just kind of wanted to talk about what, where Supplement 1, which is some updates for our county codes, where it lies in that process. So right now, it's at the proofreader. There's probably 6 or 8 steps that goes through here to make sure of accuracy and checks and double checks. So Supplement 1 looks to be about 60 or 70% through the process. And these are the updates that we plan to get pushed out. So all in all, there is a lag with what we approve versus what gets sent out. It's a large process. Looking at some of the communications we've had from Municode, that this will occur annually in August, and this will become more of a mechanical process for us as we update things in Municode. So that kind of puts us on notice to make sure that we are communicating with the most current ordinances with any of our consumers that would need that. So it's a little longer process than I thought it would have been. You kind of imagine now in today's environment, you'd be able to send something and have it uploaded, but because it's law and they want accuracy, there is quite a few steps to go through to ensure accuracy.
Okay, thank you for the update. Mr. Templer, Mr. Schumake, you have the motion?
Yeah, I have a question and then a comment. So if we pass an ordinance, what can we expect if we pass, our litter ordinance as an example? We passed the litter ordinance a couple months ago. What's sort of the lead time between when we pass an ordinance to where it shows up on Municode? Ballpark. I'm not looking for precise, I'm just looking for a ballpark.
According to this, 30 to 90 days.
Because I ask because I don't think, as we look into this, I'd like to look into making sure that's happening. Because, by the way, for those of you who don't know what Municode is, Municode is how we put our ordinances online. So Municode is a relatively new addition to our county. It was when the 3 of you were on council, Mr. Chair and Councilman Tucker and Councilman Jones, you guys actually authorized this, which is a great thing because before that authorization, to find out what our ordinances said, you'd have to come here to this building and look them up in a hard copy. So this allows any citizen to go up and see what the law is. And so I spend a lot of time on it, just looking through stuff, and it seems like the lag, let's look into that if we can, on that lag, just to make sure that we're getting some of that stuff. And it may be, just from what I look. The other reason this is important is, for law enforcement officials too, and judges, everybody, it's an easy place to go to sort of settle any dispute about what the law is. So I think it's really, really important. And I think it's one of those things that we don't think about something like this because we just we know what we're doing up here. But, if you have an election and, your body shifts out or the administrator shifts out, the county attorney shifts out, you can be left in a place where, there's some uncertainty about what the law is in place. And so having Municode is extremely helpful. And I think most counties, Mr. DeBose, most counties are on it now, right? So you can find the ordinances for most counties on Municode. So I use it like when a constituent calls me and says, hey, I have this issue, is this a violation? Municode is very good. One quick shout out also to our planning and zoning department, because I've noticed you guys do a really good job of adjusting the ZLDR as we're doing these amendments. I've noticed that you guys have done several reiterations of the ZLDR as posted online. So in addition to Municode, we do have the ZLDR gets pretty regularly updated online as well. So thank you.
Short comment, short.
Go ahead, Mr. Jones.
All right, Mr. Chair, I think
I didn't yield to you.
I didn't ask you to yield to me.
I'm sorry, I thought you did. Mr. Tucker, do you yield?
Yes, sir, I do yield, Mr. Chair.
He does yield. Go ahead, Mr. Jones.
Mr. Gunn, I was just going to say that, Mr. Chair, I think you've been working on this for 9 years, so maybe it'll get completed here pretty soon.
Feels that way.
It's been about 9, because you brought this up and you've been fighting for it ever since, and congratulations for getting us where we're at right now.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Any further discussion, Mr. Tucker?
No, sir.
Okay. Any other discussion, gentlemen? Just for context, for a public member to come in and try to access what the actual laws were in the form of our code and ordinance used to require, no pun intended, an act of Congress. Miss Mary would have to heft a very large set of books sometimes to an area where the public could view it. And so I fear that we worked the older Mr. DeBose into considering retirement by pushing on MuniCode and making, modernizing Kershaw County's access to laws over a number of years. But we got it done, and now we're trying to address the lag time as has been indicated in a vote that occurs tonight. Third reading happens on something. The law changes. How quickly is that accessible to the public? There is some lag time, but we're trying to tighten that and reduce it as much as possible so people have the information at their fingertips on their phone or computer at home otherwise. And certainly through council minutes, that's the quickest way to get an indication of what the law is that is in Kershaw County. But in MuniCode itself, this is a good step for us. So thank you very much for the updates and the comments. Any further discussion? All righty, we don't need to vote on that one. This will take us to item number 14, council member briefings. I'll start to my left. Mr. Jones, do you have any report?
You started me last time.
I started with Mr. Cato last time.
I was just going to see if you're awake.
I am awake. Mr. Jones, go ahead.
Yes, thank you so much. Well, one thing I'd like to say is that having been here 18 years, and I've served under a lot of chairmen, most I didn't like, but I'll tell you something right now. Steve Kelly, and you remember Sammy, he always let me talk, or let me finish. And he didn't agree with anything I did, but he always let me finish. I want to commend you tonight for running a good meeting. You may not agree with some of my comments, but you allow me to finish. You allow me to say what I feel like I need to say, and I appreciate that.
Sir, you've been elected by the people just like me.
Amen.
Go ahead.
Except for the chair.
Well,
I'm gonna wrestle you. I'm gonna wrestle you for that one next time.
I'm on video.
listen,
I'm glad you said that.
we had prior meetings where I made a motion to include a wrestling mat right in this section right here, and it would never fly. I don't know why y'all wouldn't want to support it just to settle other issues, but
You look better in spandex than I do.
if y'all are inclined, you can go ahead.
All
Mr.
right,
Jones, any further
I still had-
report?
Yes, I still had the floor.
Go ahead.
Thank you. But I think that comment I just made is very important, folks. He is right, we're elected by the people, and we should have our right to speak, whether you agree or disagree. Now, and I don't want any interruptions from Sammy Tucker at all when I say this. Our Finance Committee, you do a great job, guys. You meet, but you know what? Sometimes there's 4, sometimes there's 3 of you. But if there's 3 of you, that's still a quorum for the Finance Committee. I think the Finance Committee, there should be minutes taken, or there should at least be audio taken, because guys, I mean, think of what they're doing. They're discussing, they're making recommendations to county council on huge amount of money, and there's just no record of it whatsoever. That's just my personal opinion. Think about it. I'm just asking you to think about that. And you can thank me later for being so smart on this issue. Also, Mr. Tucker,
Yes, sir.
no pun intended, but I think it's a sad day, sir, when a county councilman cannot ask the county administrator some questions without one of his colleagues getting all antsy over there about to pee in their pants. Okay?
No comment.
Look, we're all big guys. Nobody's been disrespectful here tonight. We just asked some very blunt, straightforward questions. So, and I thank y'all again for your cooperation.
No further report?
Oh, wait a minute. Nope, that's gonna be it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Jones. Mr. Cato, do you have any report?
I do. I have a few things. First, I want to thank my colleagues, and I know some was at work and things happened, but I want to thank the ones that wore pink tonight. I have a heart for this because it's affected my family. My sister, she had a battle with breast cancer, and I seen what she went through, and so it touches you. So I really want people to really pay attention to this disease, especially women. Make sure you get your checks, your mammograms. And listen, men too, if this can happen to men, don't let anybody tell you it can. It can happen to men. And to all the cancer survivors, I just had an aunt that went through stomach removal, and all the cancer survivors. This is for you. This is for you. And I commend you on your fight. Few things I want to remind you of. The MAD Festival starts October the 9th. So I encourage you to look at the calendar and find an event and try and participate in some of the MAD Festival. Also, there's a Fall Festival coming up October the 27th at North Central High School. This was started by Bethany Westville Baptist Church, but a lot of the community churches and different organizations and a lot of businesses take part in this. The county takes part in it. Huge turnout at the football field over at North Central, trunk or treat, different vendors. I mean, it's just a huge event. So please bring your kids out, come out and enjoy a great night there. November the 9th, I mentioned this and I'll mention it throughout. November the 9th, the Mount Pisgah Resource Center will have its 100-year celebration, and it's celebrating the life of the building up there. It was established 100 years ago, and they're going to celebrate, as they call it, Cheers to 100. So if you get a chance to do that, I encourage you to go up there for that on November the 9th. Lastly, I just want to thank my colleagues for the kind words. I don't deserve those words. I don't, but I do appreciate them, and I promise you I'll do my best. I've been on this council for close to 2 years now, and I've enjoyed every minute of it. Sometimes it's been very challenging, but I will always give it my best. But you just about made me blush tonight. So, but I appreciate what y'all do too. That
You
is
weren't
my
looking at me
report.
at all when you said that.
Huh?
Thank you, Mr. Cato.
I got to learn to turn to my left. I'm used to looking to my right.
Thank you, Mr. Cato. Mr. Brazel, any report?
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Jimmy, welcome back. Today's your first meeting in person. We've missed you.
You gonna write that down for me?
You're doing, yeah, you can write it down. You're doing very well post-surgery, and I'm glad of that. And I am glad you're back. You like to ask hard questions, as do I at times. And I'll also want to commend you on your mannerisms tonight and the way you handled yourself. Very professional, showed your leadership, and I really respect that.
Thank you.
I want to say thank you for that. Councilman Cato, sorry I wasn't able to find a cool pink shirt like Councilman Shoemate. He found a nice pink shirt, but
That's a billboard.
I did find a ribbon to wear. My mother is a breast cancer survivor, and my mother-in-law is currently fighting liver cancer. So we've been through and going through these situations, and it affects all of us and all of our families and everyone in the family. So I appreciate you pushing for us to wear pink for breast cancer awareness for the month of October. I'd like to commend and thank our Administrator, Danny Templar, for working with me and helping move forward with the boat ramp. As you know, it's a project that's been dear to me in my heart, and the people that I represent, I like to represent the sporting community of Kershaw County, and this is something that is going to be highly utilized, and as Chairman Connell said, it's going to just put more people in the park for different reasons as well. So it's going to be a really neat project. Looking forward to that. I'm very excited about that. Danny, I also congratulate you on being appointed to the opioid coalition. I know you'll do a great job for Kershaw County there. A lot of families affected by that disease as well. Ben, I look forward to you serving at Santee Lynch's COG. I know you probably felt like you've had idle times these days as only being a chairman of county council and not of the State House anymore every day. So put one more thing on your plate. Thank you for being willing to serve and take your time to do that as well. And one last congratulations to Jonathan Proctor. I agree with Councilman Shoemate that that is our zoning ordinances and how Kershaw County is developed and how we grow over the next 10 to 15 years is going to greatly affect what this county looks like and how we live and enjoy our community. So that concludes my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brazel. Mr. Tucker, any report?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to start off with a couple thank yous as well. I want to say thanks to you, Chairman Ben Cornell, and Vice Chairman Russell Brazel for your, what's wrong? You all right over there, Mr. Jones?
I'm just listening to you, sir.
Okay, all right. For your tenacity of staying after the boat ramp, and I want to thank Danny and staff as well. It's how things get done. You have to just stay up on it and with it. So thanks again for the citizens. I want to say to Mr. Jones as well, welcome back. It was good to have you sitting back over there tonight. Honestly, I've missed sparring with you the time you were out, and I see you back to your regular self. That's a good sign because we all want you healthy. Mr. Cornell, this is my first meeting serving with you since you've been newly elected, and I thought that you ran a fine meeting tonight, and I look forward to the continuity and the consistency moving forward. With that being said, Mr. Cato, you know I would have pink on, but I came straight from work, and so for those reasons, I'm going to request we wear pink again next meeting in 2 weeks. And I will have me some paint on, I will assure you. And I almost went back there and took Miss Lauren's coat because she was going to give it to me and put on and wear up here. But I just decided not to do that. And Mr. Jones, I'm going to say to you from the Finance Committee, I've thought about it. You asked me to think about it. We will continue to march smartly as we have with the Finance Committee. And I'm happy to have you come take any notes, record anything you want to record in the meeting, but we're going to march smartly the way we've been doing business. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Tucker. Mr.
Disagree
Shoemate.
with you.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So, just to piggyback on what Councilman Tucker said on minutes of finance, I respect the opinion, Councilman Jones. I think, my position on that, from my perspective on the Finance Committee is, after every Finance Committee meeting, we do a report to the council. And so to me, that sort of serves the place of our minutes. But I respect your decision. I'll certainly think about it. Certainly not going to make a decision today. And I also want to welcome you back. Seriously, I'm very happy to have you back. You look good. Seriously, I mean that.
Thank you.
Thank you for Danny for putting the cancer survivors and the pink on the, or asking us to wear that. I got this shirt at Walmart. I'm sure they still have plenty more. It was only $8. I bought 2 of them. I offered Sammy my XXL, but he refused to wear it.
What am I gonna do with it?
So, I also want to note, by the way, that Councilman Cato's son just graduated the Law Enforcement Academy.
Yes.
So that's really, really awesome. That's really great. So, he's been talking about it for a long time, and it was really cool to see the pictures of you handing your son his paperwork and stuff. That's awesome. So congratulations. I want to say thank you to, well, really our entire staff and administration, but, Lauren, Will, Gerald, Danny, on the extraordinary work they did with the weather that's come in. We were fortunate in Kershaw County not to be hit as hard as some of our neighboring counties, but as one example that you guys may or may not know about, certainly everyone knows that Saluda lost some firefighters. It was awful. But what you guys may not know is that our county stepped in to cover their service calls during that tragedy while they dealt with that. I mean, they weren't able even to get to those gentlemen's bodies initially. There was a lot that happened that sort of happened behind the scenes, and a lot that could have been a lot worse had our staff and administration not stepped up in that storm. And we've got some weather coming in now. Hopefully it stays away from us. But I do want to thank you. And I think, we put an emergency management plan in place a few meetings back, a couple months back. And I think you see it working, as Mr. Glover is now sort of chair of, I forget the title, forgive me, but he's now taken a role that's sort of over all the sort of non-sheriff issues, first responder issues. So anyway, I just thought it was amazing, and also to our law enforcement agencies that went out. I just think our county really came alive, and I very much appreciate everything that our staff and administration did in that in that weather event, but also has continued to do. And lastly, Lugoff Elgin homecoming, well, a lot of the schools are having homecoming coming up. I think Camden's is this weekend, but Lugoff Elgin homecoming is on the 19th. So just as you guys are traveling around and all those things, just remember that we're going to have a lot of young men and women on the road, early drivers over these next couple of weekends as they go to homecoming and go to their games. So please be safe. And obviously for all those young people, be particularly safe. I also am officially announcing my support of my son's girlfriend, Emma Cotton, for Camden Homecoming Queen. I don't know if that's appropriate politically, but what the hell? So that's all I have.
Neither one of those were appropriate.
Right,
Thank you, Mr. Shoemake. I do have just a few comments to close out. We heard from the Community Medical Clinic and some of their board members today. October 17th, they have their medical clinic oysters and barbecue event at Camden City Arena that evening. It's a great event. I encourage everybody to get out. You've got the Horse and Hound polo match coming up. This is a post-COVID revival of the polo field and polo match. It's been a great event. The governor's come out and attended with us a few times, and we're an equine and agrarian society. This is just a great thing for Kershaw County, and it attracts people to the area.
What date is that?
That's October 19th at 11:30 at the Polo Field in Camden. You got the Camden Community Concert Band on October 20th at 3 p.m. at Historic Camden. The Colonial Cup is coming back for the first time this year, post-COVID. That was a big hit in reduction of meetings and events and that kind of thing, but it's coming back with some enthusiasm. Should be a great event. It's a little bit more family-friendly, and they'll have some family-friendly events there, and I'll be out there and look forward to celebrating. Just for council's benefit and the public's benefit, we've got 2 meetings scheduled coming up, both of which are dangerously close to Thanksgiving and Christmas, both of which would likely get me in trouble with any planning that my mother or wife or significant people in my life would have. And so we might discuss suspending those meetings in the future. We'll talk about it in the next meeting. And to the extent we have anything pressing, we might address it. I would suggest the meeting before the Thanksgiving week, particularly regarding the boat ramp, which we talked about a little bit tonight, and any others council staff will update us on, and we'll make sure we get those things covered if they're pressing. But I know some of us already are going to be traveling during those weeks, might be out of town already, and so we'll address that as it comes up. Cancer is just vicious. It's taken both of my spouse's parents, and I had other family members who have succumbed to it, others who have fought back and won, and sometimes there's no rhyme or reason. In every instance, I just trust in God and His will and try to submit in humility to what folks are going through, what I might have to go through in life. And so we simply pray for those who are afflicted with cancer that they can fight back and overcome, that miracles or modern medicine, sometimes which go hand in hand, can take care of those issues. And we continue to pray for those who are impacted by the hurricanes. From this community, numerous service missions have already gone out from local churches, individuals who banded together. Hey, I've got a big trailer in my backyard, you'll hear on Facebook. Come load it up if you want to. I'm heading to Western North Carolina or to Aiken or to North Augusta. My church is going this weekend, for example, in a slew and wave of volunteer missions, bringing tools and our own gas and fuel and small tractors with grapples to try to help in any way that we can. One of the toughest things about these traumatic and terrible events, and I fear that Milton will make us witness and reflect on this again down in Florida, is that it reveals some of the best things about the people you know and love, and some of the best things about the people you never knew but you get to meet. Mm-hmm. And so I encourage everyone who has an inclination or a little whispering of feeling like they need to go and serve or donate or help people. If it's a donation, do your research and find a very good charitable organization. There are scammers out there, so you have to protect yourself. And if you are inclined and able to go and serve and take off time for work, or you have a free weekend or a long weekend, I know that you'll bless lives as you go and try to lift these people out of despair and abject poverty that's inflicted on them by a wave of water often that's taken everything that they have. I had a brother who went last week with his local congregation, and he described to me things that I can't imagine ever experiencing myself, and children literally being ripped out of their parents' hands and arms as they try to clutch to them in the throes of strong water, and just losing every memory that you have except for those in your head. Just imagine it. It's a terrible thing, and so we pray for them. And on a little bit lighter note, I'm extremely grateful to be serving with this group of men up here. I'm very grateful to be in Kershaw County and serve here with people who are dedicated. And I'm just thankful that I'm able to raise my family here. It's a wonderful space. It's a wonderful place, and that's why we came back. It took me about 14 years to realize and learn that, really, after bouncing around to various parts of the country. But made my way back here, and it was absolutely the right decision. That concludes my remarks. Next item on the agenda, gentlemen, is Administrator's briefing. Mr. Templer, you have anything for us?
Yes, I do. I've got a handful here, but I think it needs to be said. Just want to commend, much kind of dovetail on what Councilman Schumate said about our response to this storm from our first responders. I was extremely proud of just not what they reacted to, but what they were proactively preparing for. I think well before the storm had even reached Kershaw County, Will Glover had already discussed with other staff about having a damage assessment team and how that would look. So just some stats for you of what we ended up dealing with. Up at the lake was obviously the area of significant focus. So before the arrival of the storm, personnel called individuals that had previously experienced flooding in our Lake Wateree and Wateree River area. Personnel completed door knocks after the storm and checked on individuals as water continued to rise in our water basin. During the event, our county at one point was moved to OPCOM 1, full alert. Disaster or emergency situation is imminent or occurring, with a limited emergency operations center activation. Those individuals were here till before they went to that material condition. They were here till midnight, and then they manned that EOC 24 hours, I think, for a day or two. Total calls for service answered by public safety during the storm was over 350. Public safety agencies that is qualified by Kershaw County Fire, Lugoff Fire, Camden Fire, Kershaw County EMS, Kershaw County Sheriff, Camden PD, and SCDOT. Both fire service and EMS staffed additional resources through the storm for the increased hazards. Resources and responses were coordinated through our county public safety agencies to ensure all areas were covered for water rescue. And that was just, again, understanding that it wasn't just a lake issue, that a lot of these tributaries and these creeks and things that you wouldn't associate with flooding was going to be a water hazard. Kershaw County Fire Service staffed a water rescue team following the storm for a total of 70 man-hours. This team spent 20 hours on the water doing welfare checks and assessing conditions on over 100 homes. Central Dispatch answered over 300 phone calls in a 12-hour time frame, which was double their normal call volume. And keep in mind they're short in there in dispatch. So they had to call people in. They had to position and posture manpower, or personnel rather, to make this happen. Damage assessment teams have conducted over 160 surveys, inputting the data to the state for individual assistance. What they found is one home was destroyed, 19 with major damage, 34 with minor damage, and 92 were impacted. While official numbers have not been uploaded yet, it appears that the river reached 38 feet, which is the highest crest since the year of 1916. While official numbers have not been uploaded for our database on the lake, it reached 105.97 feet, which ranks number 3 of all time. Our fire service sent resources to Saluda County on Saturday and Sunday to provide coverage due to the double line of duty death of the firefighters. They had a tree fall on a truck while it was responding, and from what I understand, that was a father and son in that truck. EMS gathered supplies for victims in western North Carolina and will take them this week. Kershaw County is currently pending approval for FEMA with public assistance and individual assistance. So those are 2 different categories. Public assistance is for public entities like Kershaw County if we spend fuel or chainsaw time or just any kind of recovery there. Individual individual assistance would be for homes that were impacted specifically. We're still waiting on the threshold numbers for that. We do encourage anyone that has any damage that we may not have reached out to take our survey that is on the red banner at the top of our website. That survey has been very active. It's yielded, I think, that last time Will and I talked, maybe a little over 30 participants. Some of them were already taken care of, but you never have enough information. But that survey ends October 11th, so we want to get everybody that has damage to get included, because that's going to help with our threshold numbers as it relates to that individual assistance. So our guys and girls did a great job. I was beyond proud of them. They continue to watch these weather events. They continue to monitor anything that pops up. So I have full faith in the men and women that work out there. Again, I'm just so amazed at how forward-thinking they are. They're not just thinking about, when the storm gets here or how much rain. They're actually considering cleanup and staging and things of that nature. So I just wanted to highlight those efforts and just reassure the public. I think we have some of the best public safety in Kershaw County, both sides of the river and everywhere you go. So that is my report.
Thank you very much, Mr. Templer. Any questions about the administrator's report?
Thank you, sir.
I have a comment. I think Will Glover, I agree, he did a fantastic job. Really did, and thank you so much. And to staff as well.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Thank you, Mr. Administrator. I'll just remark that the design phase on projects has become, it's absolutely apparent to me now how important it is. Whoever said you need to put another 3 or 4 feet on the top of the pylons on the existing floating dock that's at the, whoever, I don't know if it was Alliance Engineering or whoever said that in design, bless them. Who would have thought the water would ever get that high on the Wateree River? I mean, it's just the nature of it, I guess. But if you didn't have that additional 3 or 4 feet, you would have been looking at a potential bridge strike from a floating dock, And so that design phase, I'm very glad that we have engineers and others who are involved and make sure that we account for all risks. So that additional 3 or 4 feet on the pilings, looking up there, you'd think you'd never need it, but there it goes.
I think we're going to add 2 feet to the next dock.
Right.
I'd agree.
2 additional, right?
Okay,
yeah.
thank you very much for the briefing. Do we have any legal briefing?
None outside of executive session.
Okay, next item, gentlemen, is executive session, and we do have 11B moved to the end of that section. Mr. Tucker, do we have a motion?
Yes, sir. I would like to make a motion at this time that we go into executive session to have a discussion with item 17A, attorney-client privileges briefing regarding ADA compliance and contractual matters related to thereto. And item 17B, an attorney-client privilege briefing regarding airport-related contracts. And 17C, which I'm adding, that we add the executive session 17C for discussion of personnel matter pursuant to South Carolina Code 30-4-70A1. Also, I would like to make sure the administrator and the deputy administrator, along with our attorney, is present.
Okay, and then I'll clarify for the motion. Under that code you cited, the first 2 items are subsection A2 in compliance with FOIA, and the third item, which was previously 11B, is subsection A1 for FOIA compliance purposes. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We've got a second from Mr. Shoemake. All right, all in favor of entering executive session on these issues, raise your hand. We've got Mr. Cato, Mr. Connell, Mr. Brazel, Mr. Tucker, Mr. Shoemake in favor, all opposed? Mr. Jones, opposed. We are entering executive session.
1940.
End
Mr.
executive
Chair, I'd
session.
like to come out of executive session,
I'd
please.
like to second that.
All right, we got a second. No discussion, we're out of executive session as we vote. All in favor? It's unanimous, Ms. Hannah. All those present are in favor. We're out of executive session. 2 items didn't require any vote. We still have item 11B, now 17C.
Give me just a second.
Regarding clerk duties that Mr. Tucker had on the agenda. Mr. Tucker, do you have a motion?
Yes, sir. Dog it. Give me just a second. All right, I like to, this is my motion, have it written up. I like to make a motion that we clarify the duties and supervision of the clerk to council so that the duties and supervisions are consistent with the established job descriptions that was published on December the 6th, 2022. Thus, the clerk to council will divide their time between work for county administrator and work for the county council. The county administrator will supervise the office of the clerk to county council for daily affairs with county council by majority vote, possessing ultimate authority for assignment-related specialties to county council. The clerk to council will be available to all council members, but will report to the chairperson of Kershaw County for any questions, concerns, or disputes. That is my motion, and I'm happy to send you that too, Ms. Anna.
I'll make a second.
Is there a second? All right, Mr. Brazel. Mr. Tucker, you had the motion?
Yes, I just want to say thank you. I'm not going to go into any more discussion unless you guys deem necessary. Thank you for going over this with me, and I just want to say what we're really doing here is ratifying what has already been put in place so that Ms. Hannah will have no mistake on what her duties and responsibilities are. She's doing a fabulous job, magnificent job, but we just want clarity moving forward with this council.
Thank you, Mr. Tucker. Mr. Brazel, you have the second.
Yeah, this lengthy discussion is nothing more than to solidify what already exists. And again, December the 6th, 2022, everything is stated in that notice of job vacancy and has no reflection on job performance other than Ms. Hannah does us a wonderful job here in Kershaw County, and we're thankful to have her, and we really appreciate what you do. But if you have any questions, you can refer to this, and as always, you can speak to any of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brazel. Any further discussion?
Yes, I'm confused.
Go ahead, Mr. Jones.
What has been the problem?
I think there was a necessary clarification for the employee and administrators, and I think that we've discussed that, everything's clear, and
Okay, so it's basically
we're
just
solidifying this and moving
with
forward.
the administration department and the clerk, that's where the disconnection was?
I think it was a disconnection with all of us, sir.
Not with me, it wasn't.
Okay, good, then with the rest of us then.
I mean, I'm not voting for it.
Any further comment?
Excuse me. I'm done.
Okay, you're done. Any further discussion, gentlemen? If not, let's move it to a vote. All in favor, raise your hand. And we've got Mr. Shoemake, Tucker, Brazel, Connell, and Cato in favor. All opposed? Mr. Jones is opposed. It passes, Ms. Hannah. Thank you very much. That takes us to adjournment. I seek a
Motion to adjourn, Mr. Chairman.
Is there a second?
Second.
We got Mr. Tucker, Mr. Brazel. All in favor, raise your hand.
Y'all done kept me here too long.
Unanimous in favor, Ms. Hannah, for the record.
Thank you.
We're
Thank you.
adjourned. Thank you.
Sammy, you need to relax.